Where the hell are you going?
Back to the beginning of all this.
Are you crazy? You can't be here.
They're coming. They never tell me when things are bad, but I always know.
Hey, wait! Hey, wait!
Sarah.
Sarah!
I need you to tell me that Delphine is alive.
Piss off!
You killed Aldous Leakey? Exactly. I have to tell my sister. I just want to blast something. Get out.
Well, now I'm confused.
Hey, who are you? You.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Tatiana, I love that the trailer doesn't even try to make sense of the show for everybody.
No, it's
like
just as, confusing as the show is.
You gotta get in there from the beginning, and that's how you're gonna know how to follow this, because we can't make sense of it in 45 seconds, basically.
I certainly can't in 45 minutes make sense of it.
Tatiana, many have said that you might be one of the best actresses working on television right now, sheerly based off of the amount of work that goes into an episode of this for you. What is the most amount of characters you've played in one episode?
First season, it was 3, and that was ridiculous.
That just wasn't enough for you.
It was not feasible. So 2 is the maximum that we'll do now, from now on.
In one episode?
Oh, sorry, in one episode. I thought you meant one day.
No,
I'm extremely tired
Sorry.
today. Good morning, everybody. One episode, 6?
It's truly unbelievable to watch. It's one of those things where you start the show, and most television, the format of television, the way that it's built up, you get a scene for each character within the first act of the show. You're setting up each plot thread for those characters. Every plot thread is you.
Yeah.
It's insane. You're going from one scene to the next, and it's just you as these different characters. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you signed on to this show, did you have any awareness as to sort of how much of a acting triathlon this would be for you?
Well, I definitely was drawn in by the challenge of getting to play these characters, but I didn't know the extent to which, how many there would be, who would kind of come down the pipeline. I didn't know Helena was going to be a thing until I got the part. I definitely didn't know Rachel was going to be a character until maybe episode 8 of season 1. And then they kind of threw at me, you're going to play this corporate ice queen. And I was like, sure, if you think I could.
You nail every character.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, that process, and hair, makeup, wardrobe, the writers. There's just so many people who contribute to that kind of, to fleshing out these characters, so.
Can we talk about why, you said, 3 in a day, you accidentally told me.
Yeah.
3 in a day turned out to be too much, and you can only do 2. For obvious reasons, that makes sense, but can you explain a little bit why it's so hard to sort of keep track of three different characters in one day?
I think it's more so the time it takes to change between is just not feasible for our production schedule. It's so fast. So to have an hour and a half where I have to kind of be taken out of the filming schedule to change over is not good, because I'm in every scene, so they kind of need me to be there.
So it's not like a performance thing for you where you have to sort of get yourself into a place or
no.
anything like that?
It's time and money.
You can turn it on and turn it off pretty easily?
Not really, but I do have that hour and a half where I can kind of watch one character be peeled away and see the other one being put on. And I do find that as much as I work from internal stuff, I also find that aesthetic change so helpful for that kind of quick shift.
How much, when you're doing this and you're going from scene to scene, how much do you actually try to sort of keep tabs on in regards to what's going on with each character, like the plot threads of the whole show? Or for you, is it more about, okay, what is this one scene that I'm filming with this character? What is her objective in this scene? Can I talk to the writers about where they think she should be going? Because it would just be too much to sort of maintain all the plot threads throughout a season for 8 characters.
Yeah, I mean, my brain doesn't work in plot. It's never understood that kind of overarching thing. For me, it's about being in that moment. I know these characters pretty well at this point, so I trust that whatever's happening in that moment is, whether it's contradictory to how she might be feeling or actually, like, I think that as human beings, we're quite, we're inherently irrational. And so, any kind of brain work that I could do where I go, oh, this is what it should be, is going to trap me into some kind of idea of it, as opposed to being alive in the moment and allowing for a change or allowing for the moment to dictate something completely different. Like, I sort of like to stay open to that stuff. Obviously, having done the work and the homework to know where I'm coming from, but to sort of leave it open to who's across from me and what they're giving me.
It's one of those odd conundrums, I think, with these performances, or this performance, however you want to sort of define it, about acting, which I think so often many people want to think of the homework and think of the process, but what actually comes out on camera sometimes doesn't require the homework or doesn't require this sort of process around the story as a whole. It requires, like you said, the moment and being present in that moment and giving it off, rather than, like, if you had a director on set with you who's like, do you know where this character is after the last time? You could be like, no, it doesn't matter. I just know that she's mad and she's mad at that.
Well, for me, it's definitely less about like the emotional thing that I'm meant to be feeling, and more sort of, so I know the story up to this point, and then allowing for whatever spontaneous thing happens. I come from improv and theater. My background is in those, and that's all about saying yes to whatever your scene partner is giving you. So if I go in with an idea, but my scene partner is giving me something completely different, I can't hold on to what I'm doing. That's not real. It's not true. So I love that dialogue that happens kind of subconsciously with the actor you're working with is more interesting to me than going, it has to be this way, or, this plus this equals that,
Do you ever find that guest actors get intimidated by you when they show up? This is my second time interviewing you, and you're absolutely lovely and not like an intimidating person at all. But for a guest actor to show up to a place where the lead is playing 8 different roles, I would imagine the other guest actor would just be terrified of getting in the way.
Oh God, no. I mean, I'm as nervous to work with somebody new as, I'm assuming people are to come onto a show. And I've walked onto so many sets, being a day player or being a recurring role, a new recurring role or whatever, that I know what that feels like. And I think that our set is quite warm and very much about like I'm just excited to get to work with somebody new, so I hope I'm not putting out any kind of like, you better bring it or whatever. Like,
Do not slow us down.
Yeah, don't screw this up for me. No, I really, like...
Looking at them off camera? Going,
yeah, because it's about faster, funnier, really. I love, like, all of the guest stars that we had this past season were just some of my favorite actors in the country, and so I was just excited to have them there. We just felt really lucky.
When did you become a producer on the show?
Season 2 or 3?
Now, what did that entail for you? What did the sort of role of a producer entail? Quite often, the leads of a show, as a show progresses through seasons, they'll become a producer. I think I've always assumed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to put my assumption out there as the question, that it's because you sort of end up having a certain ownership over your characters' stories, and you work with the writers just a little bit more than you would have in the first season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this job specifically has been collaborative from the beginning in terms of look and dialect and character and all these things. John and Graeme, who created the show, have always given me that voice and have never been like, you can't have a say in this. They've always presented the character to me and asked for my input and asked for what inspires me about that, and we've always had an open door policy about that stuff. So becoming a producer was maybe more of an official thing, but really it just means my creative voice is heard in the same way that it has been pretty much since season 1.
Do you worry that this show will have kind of spoiled you for a long time? You're finishing up 4 seasons of this show, and quite often they say it's a rarity that an actress has great roles to play. It's hard for actresses to find really great lead roles or just really great 3-dimensional roles. And here you are the lead playing 8 different 3-dimensional roles. And you were a producer on it as well. Do you feel like after this, it's kind of like, oh, downhill from here?
Yeah, I'm gonna quit. No, I don't know. Like, I've done films between, and Orphan Black was like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in terms of career-wise and just creatively, to kind of help me realize that there's no limit to what an actor can do, or like the role that you can try to tackle, and that sort of unpreciousness of like, oh, well, I only play this, or I only play, that just doesn't factor for me. I'm just not interested in pigeonholing myself in any way. And I do feel so spoiled that our show is so female-centric, and kind of the default is the female perspective. That's not common, but it's definitely changing. I think with shows like Transparent and Broad City, you're seeing that kind of stuff, you know, in a very mainstream way, and I think that that's the future. But you know, like I've worked on films between Orphan Black and playing one role is just as complicated for me in terms of the challenge that I have to approach, you know, whether it's an emotional depth I have to mine, or a language, or whatever. There's always something to challenge me, I think.
There are scenes in Orphan Black where you are playing against two different versions of yourself, essentially. I'm wondering if sometimes when you get a script or you show up and your sides have you playing against yourself, is that exciting for you? Is that a challenge, or is that like a little more boring than actually working with another scene partner? Well,
the great thing is that as we've gone on, we've had less of the clone scenes where I'm just standing in front of a tennis ball. So Catherine Alexandri, who plays my clone double and is like the greatest person on the planet, she's, you know, she shows up every day with all of the work done that I've done. Same thing, you know, answered all the questions, done all the homework. She knows the accent. She's watched the dailies, so she understands where the characters have shifted. She's got the physicality down. She always has some perspective on the scene that I haven't even thought of. Comes to me with questions. Like, I have an amazing scene partner in those scenes. So when I do have a clone scene, I'm like, I know it's going to be a long day, but I know it's going to be full of that same creativity that I get when I'm working with, you know, Jordan Gavaris or Christian Brune.
Do you ever do you ever feel bad sometimes with her that she has done all this work with you and has done all these things? Like, I think it's gracious that you've said her name even in this interview, but like, I remember back to like Armie Hammer's double in The Social Network,
right?
And how when that movie came out, it was like, Armie Hammer's going to get an Academy Award for this, and it's like he was acting next to somebody like this whole movie that just got green screened out. Yeah,
no, Catherine, her job is the least, like, the most egoless, selfless job an actor could possibly have, because she's doing all of the work, and the better her work is, the less she's seen on camera. Do you know what I mean? The less that we feel her work. And that is like the biggest gift I could possibly have is her.
It's more thankless than Andy Serkis and what he does.
Totally, because it's still his body, and it's still, you know, but for her it's like her hand or like her shoulder, you know. But the great thing about Catherine is she sees it as an acting job, you know, in the same way that I do, and we both are passionate about it, and we have dialogues about the characters, and she honestly brings such a different perspective, because she's seeing it from the outside too. You know, she's watching the dailies and going, do you think maybe this is where this kind of shift is happening? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And then and also like we've done scenes where she's improvised with me. As Helena, there's a scene in season 3, I think, or 2, where we're in a tent, Sarah and Helena. We're like laying across from each other, and she's like farting and eating beans or something. And she came up with like a button at the end of the scene that was so hilarious on her side, playing Helena. And I totally stole it and used it, because she just like, she was so in character and so in it, and just gave me this great gift of this scene. You know, that she's amazing.
I can't imagine not having an ego and coming up with a button being like, here, guess that's yours now.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I came up.
Reap the rewards of my joke.
Yeah, totally. No, she's absolutely incredible. And the thing I love about like Clone Club and the fans is that they know her, and that they support her, and they're like fighting for her to be seen in the same way that I get seen. And like they, you know, she had a part on season 2 of our series where she played Alexis, one of the Proletheans. And it was awesome to get to play with her, where she didn't have to hide her face and she could just be herself. It was awesome.
Were you into sci-fi at all before this show? Were you kind of like a sci-fi movie show person?
I watched like Star Trek because my dad loved it when we were kids.
Next
and
Generation or old school?
old style, like styrofoam rock era.
That's how you define the
Yeah,
Star Trek.
exactly. Yeah. And then Futurama is like my extent of my sci-fi. But that's pretty...
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't get much more geeky than Futurama. If you.
What are you saying? Isn't that the coolest cartoon? It's literally my favorite thing. I fall asleep watching that show.
So what's it like now to have this show that, you also came from improv comedy, and it's this very dramatic sci-fi show where you've stretched, I would imagine, boundaries that you didn't even know you had as an actress, and now you have this rabid fan base behind it. You just mentioned the sort of nickname for them. What was it called?
Clone Club.
The Clone Club. Yeah. What is it like to have this fan base?
Oh, it's crazy. It's amazing. I mean, I always think back to that first Comic-Con that we went to, and we walked out at like the Nerd HQ panel and felt this surge of energy from the crowd because they loved the show, and we didn't expect that. We didn't know that was possible, and to have this group of people who are also just so into analyzing the show and kind of breaking apart the sort of gender politics that we talk about and the sort of feminist side of things. Like, they really shed light on that for us after season 1 and made it like a priority for us to kind of explore that. And they know more about the characters than we do. They totally like school us with questions that we haven't even thought of, so they're amazing.
It must also be pretty amazing that you find this massive fan base, this kind of global fan base, and this larger fan base as well in North America for a production that you're putting together in Toronto, which is, there are lots of, I love Toronto, it's one of my favorite cities, and it's just this great city, and even when I was watching the show last night, I was like, oh, Toronto, 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 I love this. There's like outside a bar in one of the previous episodes. I was kind of like, is that Queens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bovine Sex Club.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what it's called.
But it's
what happens there.
It's, in Canada, there's like the 50-50 rule, right? Where it's like you can have 50% of content, be it music or pop culture generally, from other countries, but 50% also has to be made in Canada. And a lot of that stuff that's made in Canada rarely, I feel like, crosses the border that often. It's like Degrassi.
Wow.
And Cronenberg. You have like
Right.
those things have crossed
Very
over.
comparable things. Similar
Orphan Black
tone.
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And you have this sort of really great crossover thing that gets to showcase, your home city, right? What is that like for you?
It's awesome. I mean, it's great. Our show has never really been defined by where it is. I think people always kind of are confused with where we're. It's like a Gotham almost, like an everywhere in North America. But yeah, I think they've shied away from like totally pretending it's not Toronto, which is great. And we're all very proud of it. We're proud to be put on the map in a way, because Drake did it. Drake's done it for us.
I completely forgot about the export that is.
Yeah, you can't
Drake.
forget Drake.
Like one of the biggest pop culture successes right now. Oh, but
Right?
he was from Degrassi, right?
Yes,
So I kind of got Drake in there.
Jimmy.
A little bit. Yeah,
rapping Jimmy.
I had a little bit of Drake in there. Before I'd open it up to audience questions, you just recently shot a movie with David Gordon Green and Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah.
What was David Gordon Green is one of my favorite Hollywood directors right now.
Unbelievable.
He's so committed to the moment of scenes, which I love about watching his movies. You find scenes within the movies or moments that feel like they were caught at that time of shooting it.
Totally.
What was it like doing that with him? Because that's a very different working progress than it is making TV, where you're moving much faster.
Yeah, no, he was amazing. My favorite thing working with David was watching him work with people who had one scene or day players, because he would, I don't know how he sets this tone, but he makes them feel so comfortable. He makes everybody feel so comfortable. And he'll just throw lines at them and make them do these things that are just so like off the charts bizarre, and it works for some reason, and these people commit fully, and it changes the dynamic of the scene entirely. And he's such a he's like a trickster. Like, he's so like, he just like loves to kind of shake things up and make every take different, and he comes from like a lot of comedy and a lot of improv, so he has a very interesting perspective. And the film we were doing was highly dramatic, but he was always working to find the dark comedy in it, or the laugh, you know, and see where that could come out of the darkness and out of the tragedy.
Yeah, I look back to one of his movies, Snow Angels, which is like this really brutal drama that has all these comedians cast in it.
Yeah.
It's just constantly pulling weird laughs out of the drama.
Totally.
Which is sort of adds to the hystericalness of the hysteria
Yeah.
of a highly
Hystericality.
dramatic moment.
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
Hystericality.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the one that I was going for.
No, he did cast a few like stand-ups in this movie as well, and like people who have done a lot of comedy, and like he finds these great dramatic strokes from them, which is so interesting. I love that dynamic too.
We're moving into the final couple episodes of this season of Orphan Black, right?
Yes.
What can audiences expect?
Clones.
More of me.
More of me. Sorry, guys. The last two are pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
There's some jokes in it too, but it's pretty dramatic. You might laugh. Yeah.
Does anyone in the audience have questions?
With a question from an online viewer.
Nice.
So Maya would like to know which character on the show is the most challenging for you to play, and which is the easiest, and why?
I feel like weirdly Allison is the easiest. Don't know why, but she just like she is my heartbeat in a weird way. And Rachel is really difficult to play because not only is she kind of going through this huge fall from grace and this sort of like loss of power and all of that, but she's just got this dignity and this elegance and this sort of pride and this sense of self-worth that's so high and powerful. So she's quite scary to play.
Next.
Hi.
My name is Hans. I'm from the Bronx.
Awesome.
Just
Nice
want
to meet you.
congratulations on all your success and convincing the world that you have an infinite number of sisters. I just wanted to ask you, do you find yourself using aspects of these characters' personality on your day-to-day life?
Using some of them? Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. Helena creeps in when I get really angry. No, I don't know, but I think they've definitely, like, because they're sort of extensions of me. They're an exaggerated part of who I am. So I think maybe that exaggeration tends to like flesh that part out of me. I think Sarah, I've like grown a lot through her. From season 1, I think of her, she was quite a kid, and now she feels like an adult who's still trying to be a kid in a way. But there's this responsibility that she's taken on, and this kind of, she is a leader even if she doesn't want to be, and it sort of feels like kind of what I went through, even just being on the show and kind of stepping into this leadership position on set that's so new to me. But I definitely learned a lot through her journey. Yeah, thank you.
I can't imagine a greater acting experience that sort of sets you up for the rest of your life as an actor in terms of just sort of all of the challenges that you must face as an actor. You know, you're kind of confronting everything that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I always liken it to like a one-person show or something like that. Anytime I've seen somebody do that kind of work, it's just, it just makes me feel like any actor who would do this would have it's the most natural thing, I think, to get to jump through characters like this. We're all built for it, and I'm just lucky that I got the chance to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next question.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hey, how's it going?
It's really awesome to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
I got a kind of a silly one for you.
Perfect.
I know you're a fan of Hamilton.
Yes.
I wanted to know if you could pick a song for one of your clones. I'm not going to say all of them, 'cause there's so many.
Yeah.
What would you pick for any of your clones?
I think My Shot for Allison, for sure, because I just feel like she would just perform the crap out of that.
Such a quick response.
Yeah,
to that
yeah,
question.
yeah.
I don't know how you
That
had
song's
that.
like on the tip of my brain at all times, thinking about it constantly. Let's see. I feel like they're all for Allison. Maybe Satisfied. Satisfied is Sarah, just in terms of like the theme, but not like the searching for her Hamilton or whatever. What else we got? Who else? Who else?
Sarah.
Sarah is yeah.
Cosima.
Cosima. Why am I thinking of the how do I say no to this? I don't know. Why? Why do I think that? How do I say no to that? That one for some reason. God.
Move on to the next question.
Here comes the general is Rachel. Yeah. That's all I can think of for now. No.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Ivory.
Hey.
I was wondering if you had the opportunity to work on a Shondaland show, like Grey's Anatomy, would you be a doctor or a patient? And what would you want your character arc to be?
Oh,
That's an
interesting.
Awesome question.
I'd like to be the head surgeon. I don't know. And be very conflicted about I'm starting to feel things now. I can't disconnect anymore. And I'm 60 years old. Gray hair, maybe a man.
Next question.
Hi, thanks so much for being here. I'm Crystal.
Nice to meet you.
I love the show. So how long does it take from start to finish to get into the various clones, especially Cosima?
Cosima's hair probably takes the longest because it's a combo of my own hair and a wig and all the twisting and everything. Yeah, in terms of aesthetic change, it's the most is an hour and a half. Crystal takes a long time as well because she's full painting. There's nothing real there. And then in terms of getting into the character, I sort of take that hour and a half to sort of listen to music or whatever it takes, and then just walk on set and start to explore the physicality of the character. So it's kind of a slow burn process for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So before I let you go, earlier this year I interviewed Tatiana for a movie that she did at the South by Southwest Film Festival, and the interview was with her and her boyfriend of 5 years.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. And
Right.
everybody else at the South by Southwest Film Festival knew, and every question they asked you was about that. So I felt like a total loser who didn't do my research.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was
That's what I would have been thinking.
what a total loser.
So I'm just going to end this interview with, what was it like working with your boyfriend on that movie? Because I am not going to fail that interview.
No, you really redeemed yourself. It was amazing. It was actually...
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. No, it was amazing. It was the most fun acting experience. I was so terrified to work with him. Tom Cullen, he's one of my favorite actors and my very good friend, who I kiss. But he's just one of the most exciting, dangerous actors I've ever seen, and I just love watching him on camera. I love watching him on set, and so to get to play opposite him, I was terrified because we know everything about each other, and we know when we're bullshitting, and oops, I'm so sorry. Can I say that?
No, you can swear. Yeah.
Did it get beeped?
No.
So our honesty meter is quite high. So it was all the tricks of the tricks that I've created over the years, I couldn't.
Did you ever have a moment where you brought up to get into a scene, brought up a fight that you had before, where before you rolled,
Yeah.
do that thing where you yelled at me about that thing that I didn't really do.
Yeah.
But, it made us both uncomfortable, and then we just get to that place.
Totally. I was always giving him advice. No. There was one time when, and I don't think it made it into the movie. Oh, maybe it did. But he said something that felt so personal, and I just burst into tears, and we were both just whoops. But then after, I was that was awesome, thanks. High-fived afterwards.
So cathartic.
Yeah, so messed up.
Tatiana, you're the best. Thank you so much for being here. Orphan Black, when can we see the last couple episodes?
Thank you.
When do the last 2 episodes air?
Whoa, good question.
Oh, okay. They're on. You can watch them. Tatiana, thanks so much.
Thank you.